welcome to Mornings with the Focus. Wilson Tarbert Jr. joined by Justin Walters. Just a reminder of how things go here. We got a couple items that we're going to get through. Outside of that, look, hit up the comment section, and we're willing to discuss whatever you guys want to discuss within the world of sports. If we can offer anything to you, we're glad to do so. We're going to start off with the WNBA. Last night was Game 2 of the WNBA Finals. The Aces took care of home. They have home court. They beat the Connecticut Sun 85-71. Last night, 3 members of the Aces scored at least 20 points. It was Asia Wilson led the way with 26 points and 10 rebounds. Chelsea Gray added 21 points and 8 assists. And Kelsey Plum joined the action with 20 points and 7 assists. It was good to see Plum get going, which is huge for Vegas. The first 2 names that I mentioned throughout the playoffs, you've heard them mentioned quite a bit. In Asia and Chelsea, they've become a dynamic duo. We've seen many a meme throughout the playoffs of, old school graphics of Kobe and Shaq going off in the same games, and why it's definitely not quite the same. They've had that type of impact. They've been the engine for the Aces this entire season, and Chelsea Gray has been on one since the postseason began. There's a reason they're playing up to that level and have been since the end of the regular season. And obviously, if you get MVP in the regular season, man, you probably played at a high level throughout the regular season as well. The Sun were led by Courtney Williams. She had 18 points and 5 assists. Jonquel Jones added 16 points and 11 rebounds, while Alyssa Thomas finished with 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists. Biggest story here with the Sun, DeWanna Bonner has continued to struggle on the offensive end for Connecticut. She went just 1-9 from the floor last night. I think anybody who's watched the WNBA for a bit knows the type of offensive weapon that she's been throughout her career. Look, the Sun need the best version of her possible to show up asaptually. They're down 2 games already. It's a best of 5 series. Game 3 is Thursday. It's Game 3 Thursday in Connecticut. It's literally win or stay home for Connecticut. It'd be over just that quick. Talked about what it could mean for that team, or this current iteration of the team. If they don't get things done, you got some pretty important people hitting free agency, where this team could look totally different come next season. That said, look, man, they need Phoenix Bonner to show up in a big way. One of the reasons, the way that the Sun go about their business, the reason that they're here is it starts with what they do on the defensive end. They pressure folks. They're super physical. They force teams into mistakes, into turnovers, and then they capitalize on said turnovers. With the point guard like Chelsea Gray, there's not as many opportunities to get those live ball turnovers, scoring transition, which means Connecticut, for the most part, has to play in a half court, and they're not nearly as dangerous in the half court as the Aces are, and that's where the issue is. The games could go back and forth for a while, but as you see, you had 3 players on one team hit the 20-point mark, and 2 of them, Asia had 26, and I think she missed 3 shots. Like, you can't tell me the MVP of this year isn't a focal point for the opposing defense, and that's the issue. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Dealing with Chelsea and with Asia and Chelsea, and then Kelsey got going, and it really put them over the top. That said, we're gonna see what things look like Thursday night. Either the series will be 2-1, or we crowning a new champion in the WNBA. So we'll keep you posted, see how that goes tomorrow night. And obviously, we check in with you guys Friday morning to let you guys know what happened on Thursday night. All right, Justin, I guess we'll officially wrap up week 1 of the NFL season. Week 1 of this NFL season, we had Denver, Seattle on Monday night. So a lot of people going crazy with the reactions as always. Nathaniel Hackett with his first, welcome to the job moment as a head coach, choosing to go for a 64-yard field goal instead of trying to pick up 4th and 5 with Russell freaking Wilson, knowing that they've been cooking on 3rd down that game, and that you traded for Russell freaking Wilson. and then they wasted like 30 seconds. It was just bad. Honestly, it was just very very bad. Just the whole operation at the end of that game. So I just want to get your thoughts on that as we wrap up week one.
Yeah, that was that was a terrible. That just was a bad situation. It looked like no one had any idea what was going on, and whew, man, I just it's there's something I don't know. Like it doesn't speak well for Hackett, especially supposedly to be an offensive mind. To you would think you'd have plays set up for third and five, or fourth and five, fourth and four, whatever that was. And I mean, kicking a 65, 64-yard field goal. I don't know, man. And maybe if it was in Denver, but I don't know. The quarterback was paid that money for a reason. You went and got that guy for a reason. And there's a lot of things offensively that we would have liked to see done differently, by them throughout the game. And again, with Russ, it was a lot of the same Russ stuff. The same things where you felt like they could have put up a lot more points, and the fumbles hurt them definitely. But I don't know. That was a tough one. I think we had higher expectations for Denver than what they showed. I mean, obviously week one, but to let Gino throw the ball all over you like that was kind of a letdown in a way. And then I don't know. I expected a little more from Denver, to be honest with you. I know the emotions of Seattle and all that were big too, but I just kind of expected a little more from Denver.
Yeah, there was a couple of teams. I mean, Denver wasn't the only team this in week one where folks were excited to see them, and there's a bunch of those teams that just didn't get off to good starts. And again, it was only 1 week, but Denver's not alone in that regard. Uh, Want to ask you, did you have a couple players you felt just stood out in week one, or units that stood out in week one? Before we start looking at week two, and I guess the only thing in week two we'll look at today is we got Chargers Chiefs tomorrow night, so we'll probably wrap things up with that. But just want to get your thoughts on it. What stood out to you, whether I guess positive or negative in week one?
For me, it was again we did a lot of talking about Antonio Gibson, and what they were going to do with him. Did he get demoted? Is he going to be on special teams? Are they going to cut him? He was a personal protector, and surprisingly, they used him the way we hoped he would. They got the ball in his hands in different ways. They had him doing some receiver stuff, had him doing some running back stuff, and he had a really good game. He played a major role in that. And what? Unfortunately, it sucks that it had to come at the expense of the Brian Robinson injury. But it was good to see him, used the right way, and to see the player that we thought he was. Again, I'm not a Wentz guy, but he made the plays it took to win. Had a really good first half, then had some Wentz moments, and then a strong finish, which I'm pretty sure that's going to be a tale of his season. But I mean, the Redskins could be a threat in that division only because of where Dallas is right now. Where Dallas is at, and the Giants. I think the Redskins have more talent than the Giants, so they're in a good spot. The Ravens receivers. We had a lot of questions about who's going to step up, and with Lamar in his contract year, looking like he wants to throw the ball, really, really earn that money that he deserves. But seeing Devin Duvernay, he made a great catch, had a couple touchdowns. Rashad Bateman, and then we know how good Mark Andrews is. So seeing those guys and just what the ceiling is for that team, especially they don't have the running backs back yet. So I mean, if Lamar's able to spread the ball around, the receivers are able to win. I mean, I think Lamar looked really good. His throws were on the money. He looked good. So to see if they can be consistent in that passing game, which again probably is more on Greg Roman than it is on Lamar. But if that offense can be consistent in the passing game, they're going to be tough to beat. And then defensively, obviously, they don't have Peters. Peters isn't back yet, but they look solid. Again, it was only the Jets and Joe Flacco, but if the defense is what it always is, they could really be a contender. Again, Mahomes was Mahomes. Just seeing what the Chiefs do, spreading the ball around to their weapons, and I think Juju's going to have a big year. As he works his way back, as just being someone that Mahomes can rely on to be where he needs to be. In a certain spot, be in the zone, sit down in zones, and do run after catch things, and also some mismatch things. So I think seeing him back healthy is good. What else? I mean, that's just another thing. I don't know if it's a good thing, but just how bad the Cowboys are. Just really was a letdown to me, man. I expected it to be bad, man, but that was really bad, man. It really, we could pretend that the Dak being gone is an issue, but Dak played really bad as well, and we talk so much about we do a lot of talking about team building, and as a team builder, your general manager, you can really cripple your team, by making moves that don't make sense, and we saw that work out for them. It didn't make sense in the off season, and it proved not to make any sense on game day. And I guess the last thing I wanted to just say was let's just be careful with how we look at these young quarterbacks. I think performance wise, and I mean especially the two that played in the monsoon, but just I don't know, like let's take a step back and actually observe what's happening, what's being called, how they're playing, what's going on around them, instead of just I think sometimes the expectations for some of these guys isn't even about what they do. It's who you think they are.
Yep.
And then when they don't do what you think they should do, like, again, the guys that run the ball, we think that certain guys run the ball because of, what they look like. But some of these guys aren't really runners. They don't want to run the ball. So when you grade a guy off of running and that's not his game, it just doesn't make sense, man. I think Trey Lance and Justin Fields are both they're both in different situations, but tough situations, and again, the expectations are what they are. But I think just let these guys develop. Even Trevor Lawrence, I think he had ups and downs as well. But I think just let these guys develop and let them kind of round out into what they are as these offenses are kind of coming together and figuring out who does what. And I think we'll see more development from these guys because they're all talented guys. But I just hate being able to guys jumping on and off the wagon to different players every week because of things that don't make sense.
Well, I think the key part is what you said is because of people are mad about what they put on those players, and they didn't see what they they didn't get an immediate return on them being or immediate validation on them being right. So then the response, instead of being mature and going, oh, it's one game in a monsoon, give them time, or it's two guys in their second year, give them time. It's you're not Justin Herbert immediately. You're not Patrick Mahomes immediately. What is wrong with y'all? That's not normal. Like, again, once upon a time, it took quarterbacks a couple years, and that was expected. Also, just all things aren't equal. Like, you can have 4 different types of quarterbacks that excel at running the ball, and all of them be totally different runners. And I think a lot of people I feel like there's 2 things you could be as a black quarterback right now. You could be Pat Mahomes, you could be Lamar. There's no in between. And I think that's the issue, right? There's more than just those types of black quarterbacks. And I think people, instead of just being like you said, just watching and seeing what someone does well, etc., what they're comfortable with. The thing with, I think, Trey and Justin, neither one of them really wants to leave the pocket. In an ideal world, they'll be happy sitting back there. Now, what changes is when pressured, how they go about navigating pressure is totally different. Justin wants to get to the perimeter. That boy has otherworldly twitchiness and speed. Trey's a bigger dude, not nearly as fast. Maybe a little bit more shifty and methodical in his movements, but he's a bigger boy. He's comfortable. We see him all the time climb up. He doesn't really escape out. He climbs up. Players are different. Just accept that, and I think things will be okay, man. Just let both of them be. Like, I saw some sweeping indictments about who played better in that weather and all that other stuff, man. Like, the Bears won. The Niners lost. Neither one of them played exceptionally well games, and I wouldn't expect that either one of them to if you saw the conditions of the field and what the weather looked like that day. Just relax. And again, just like honest to goodness, relax. Dudes are in like their second year. If we could sit around and give Trevor Lawrence this that the all the grace that he's getting is a number one overall pick, I don't understand what the issues with the number 3 pick and the number 11 pick, the number 2 picks walking around quietly with no issues. Like I don't get it. Like I'm confused.
Right, right.
And I'm not, and I also think like I think it's wrong to have a sweeping indictment on Trevor or Zach, but it's just interesting to me how it's the indictments are quick on the 3rd and the 11th pick. You got like 1 and 2 come before 3 and 11, or where was Justin 12? One of those. Either way, we're skipping 1 and 2 to have definitive final statements on those two, and the other two is like it's not like great things are happening in either place.
Right, right.
Like I think they're all kind
I
of
mean,
in the
even
same
with that,
boat.
like, oh, okay, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Yeah,
No, you're good.
as you said, I think even I think if you ask Kyle Shanahan, he would say he would take a lot of the blame for that game, in my opinion. Like I don't think he called his best game, and the weather didn't help. But again, I think they're still figuring each other out, and that's okay. I think it's obvious Debo didn't play his best game. Like there was other issues on some of these teams, and to ask a rookie to pick up a team, especially I'm saying the 49ers case, that's a Super Bowl roster, and a lot of guys didn't play the way they were supposed to play. So it's hard to put it on one guy, especially when he's supposed to be the one stepping in to the team. Like he's not the one that's supposed to be carrying the team. Like what Fields faces is a little different because it's not a good team, and it's okay. Just they're trying to find themselves, but it's a lot on his plate. But I think it's just again, it's these coaches are still learning their players, and that, like you said before, the preseasons weren't used the way they usually are. They have been in the past, so it's going to take a little more time for these guys to figure it out. And you could say second year, but I don't think any of these guys, maybe any of the guys that played, are in the same offense they were last year. So it's not like it's a continuation. Like week 18 or week 19 of whatever their 20th game. Like they're starting fresh. The Bears brought in
maybe Zach. Maybe Zach. Maybe.
Right. And he's the only one not playing. So like, all these guys are like, it's a lot. And then going in that situation, we didn't have good preseason, and so it's going to be a process, And these guys aren't creators. Like we want everyone to be Vic or run like Lamar, but that's not their game. Justin runs a 4-3, but he's a pocket guy. He's He'd rather sit in the pocket, and the Bears' weapons are what they are. The line is what it is, and you played against one of the best if not the best pass rush in the NFL, and you pulled it out. That's all you can ask for. And an undermanned team, you pulled the game out. Just walk away with that and be happy. And in San Francisco's case, you saw some things. He made a couple throws. He made a couple really nice throws, and I think Kyle Shanahan is the type of coach that's able to build off of that. He's not the guy that's gonna end it, and this is what it is. He's gonna figure out, okay, this is what he does well, and he'll be able to suit the system to fit him. And again, having the running back issue is another thing for them. So I think just depending on one guy isn't fair. And again, and then not to mention, I hate leaving him out all the time, but Davis Mills, I think he's going to be a good quarterback in this league. He's he's a solid quarterback. He's a good quarterback, and that team, they're still figuring things out, and they're building. They went bare bones and slowly start putting things back together. But seeing O.J. Howard might be a player over there with them. They got some players, and they're building the right way to compete. And as the talent adds up, they're going to be a good team, I think. And I just hate to see him left out all the time and just assumed like, he's automatically going to be replaced because he looks like a player.
Yeah, I think all 5 of them dudes that went in the first round, and then Davis Mills they're fine. They're going to be okay. And I think the biggest thing, like even with the Bears too, what is it? Offensive coordinator is Luke Getsy. I don't think it's been 1 week. Like I don't think Getsy fully knows. Like I don't think either play caller for both Chicago and San Francisco is in tune with what their quarterback does best yet. It's week one. Like you can have an idea, but you don't know. Like I was talking with you. I think was it yesterday, or the day before. Like I think it's gonna be weird for Kyle because I think you're gonna have to get over this thing where you went from all middle of the field for like the last 5 years to somebody who doesn't need to be thrown over the middle of the field for a while. Honestly, it's the opposite, and you're gonna have to figure that out. Like you said, the stuff the kid's comfortable with is nothing in the middle of the field. Honestly, there's a couple things he's comfortable with, but for most of the stuff, everything's outside the numbers and down the field. So yeah, you're gonna have to adapt to that. And I think he called a good game in the first half. Once Eli got hurt, I think he freaked and it went back to kind of like more the Jimmy stuff. And that's not gonna necessarily work with this kid. Because again, you never called slot fades on third and anything before, and for him that's a comfortable throw for whatever reason. Deep outs are comfortable throws. So again, thing with Luke Getsy, I think Kyle and Luke Getsy had opposite halves. Kyle had trained a good place in the first half. I think after Eli got hurt, freaked. Eli Mitchell, that is, freaked. Second half play calling was kind of bad. I thought Luke Getsy did a good job in the second half of Justin. We saw Justin on the move, moving the pocket a lot more, and I felt like the kid got in the rhythm. But again, it's going to be growing pains, ebbs and flows, getting comfortable, getting on the same page with the quarterbacks, and that's a process. And I think one of the things that Davis Mills has going for him, Pepper Hamilton is just very, 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 very good at what he does, where it seems like he's always able to, become one with the quarterback so quick. I guess what's it called? Take a look at Chargers Chiefs for tomorrow night. Just your thoughts on that one.
Looks like it should be a shootout, and I I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch because it's a game for us to really see, the Chiefs did what they did to the Cardinals, but not four. So you're not gonna have to blitz as much, if at all. Better cover guys. So you'll really get a test to see what those weapons what the replacement weapons can do without Tyreek there. So you'll get a real good view of what the what that Chiefs offense is going to look like. And again, the Chargers aren't the best run defense, but the Chiefs don't run much, so it kind of works out for them. So just to see the test of what that offense is really going to look like again. Hopefully you get J.C. Jackson. I'm not sure if you will, but just playing against a better defensive unit, or with the players they have, and then with the Chargers, we get a chance to see if that offense can hang. Like we see the flashes, we've seen what they can do. Herbert can make all the throws and can make those flashy plays, but can they consistently match? Can they match the Chiefs when it comes to it? Like we saw against the Raiders, they put up some points early, and then slowly the Chargers offense kind of went to sleep for a half. Can't do that against Kansas City, and we want to see if Herbert's going to be mentioned with those guys. He gets a chance to match up against the best right now. And the Chiefs defense looked decent against the Cardinals, and with all the moves they made in the offseason. So we'll see how they look. So I think it'll be a really good game because the opposite side of both units get to try to prove themselves. And again, we just want to see where both teams stand because these are two teams that are at worst division contenders and at best Super Bowl contenders. So it'll just be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I just want to see how Pat and company handle business against Arizona. I want to see how they deal with the Chargers pass rush, how they go about it. But Pat's off to a good start this season. I don't think either one of us is shocked by that. And then, like you said, with the Chargers, just staying consistent on the offensive end of the ball. Because this is the thing, we all know with the Chiefs, since Pat Mahomes been there, there's not a point threshold in which they can't reach. So you got to put the pressure on them. It's that simple. But it should be fun, like you said. It could be a shootout. I know the Chiefs are gonna be missing a couple a couple players on defense. That said, still looking forward to this one. You got two people love these quarterbacks for many different reasons, but you got two of the best in the game, two of the most talented in the game, going at it tomorrow night against. I know the Chiefs defense nearly doesn't get enough credit no matter who's over there, but should be fun. And then the Chargers defense, we saw Khalil Mack's debut last week. Definitely showed up and showed out. Anxious to see how that goes in the second week too. Because if the Chiefs, most of it's just being able to block against Mack and Boza, and that's much easier said than done. And you got Derwin looking back there, and like you said, if JC gets back, I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough, but it should be fun. I think it's a good Thursday night game to get things going. Honestly, should be better than last week's Thursday night game. But if you have nothing else to add, Jess, I'm going to wrap things up. Want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning. We'll be back tomorrow. And again, we'll get more into week one tomorrow morning. So make sure you tune in. Let us know what you guys are thinking not week one. Heading into week two. What you guys are thinking about week two. And we'll talk about that tomorrow morning. Again, thank you guys that watched live and those that watched later.